Hello again, everyone, and welcome again to A Shortstop with a Shortstop. We're going to talk a little bit today about the Great Commission, doing some missionary work. When I played baseball, I was able to travel around to a lot of different cities. I was able to go to New York, see the Empire State Building, see the Statue of Liberty, and all the people that were in that town. It was a beautiful, marvelous city to go into and play baseball. I got to go to Philadelphia. Saw the statue where Rocky Balboa ran up to when he was making his movies there in downtown Philadelphia. Got to go to St. Louis and see the arch, which people call St. Louis the gateway to the West many years ago. It's not as far west now as it used to be, but I got to go to Chicago and see Lake Michigan, see Michigan Avenue where all the shops are at, and can't leave out Wrigley Field. Wrigley Field is one of the oldest ballparks that there is still left, and it's an amazing place to go see. Got to go to San Diego. It's a beautiful town. Los Angeles, and saw all the traffic jams that they have there with all the highways that they have. And I got to go to Cincinnati, and I always enjoyed coming to Cincinnati because it was the closest place that I played, and got to see my family, and they got to come up and watch me play there. A lot of them that couldn't travel all the way to San Francisco, but they could come to Cincinnati, and it was very enjoyable. But there was a man called the Apostle Paul. This guy did missionary journeys. He understood what the Great Commission was. In Mark chapter 16, verses 15 and 16, Jesus makes a statement. He says, "Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every nation. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved." And that's exactly what the Apostle Paul did. On his first missionary journey, in Acts chapter 13, verses 39 through 43, he went into the synagogue. Paul used to be a Jew himself. But on what they called the Sabbath or a Saturday, he went into the synagogue, him and Barnabas, and he started preaching to the Jews. And he started preaching Jesus to them. In verse 39, it starts out, it says, "And through him, which is Jesus, everyone who believes is freed from all things from which you could not be freed through the law of Moses. Therefore take heed so that the things spoken of in the prophets may not come upon you. Behold, you scoffers and marvelers, and perish from I am accomplishing a work in your days, a work which you will never believe, though someone should desire it to you." As Paul and Barnabas were going out, the people kept begging these things that they might be spoken at the next Sabbath. Now, when the meeting of the synagogue had broken, many of the Jews and of the God-fearing proselytes followed Paul and Barnabas, who, speaking to them, were urging them to continue in the grace of God. Now, these people were not Jesus believers, but Paul spoke Jesus unto them, and it says that many of them, many of the Jews had changed religions and were becoming Christians, and some of the proselytes also, and they were still begging him to preach Jesus unto him. The very first convert in Europe, it was a lady by the name of Lydia. And in Acts chapter 16, verses 14 and 15, it says, "A woman named Lydia from the city of Thyatira, a seller of purple fabrics, a worshiper of God, was listening, and the Lord opened her heart to respond to the things spoken by Paul. And when she and her household, it wasn't just her, but she had her whole household there listening to Paul speak. When they had been baptized, she urged us, saying, 'If you have judged me to be faithful to the Lord, come into my house and stay.' And she prevailed upon us." And that's what the Great Commission is all about. But, you know, Paul had some rough times too. I've been fortunate to go to a lot of places that Paul's been to. I went to Greece, and I was able to go to Athens and stand on Mars Hill where Paul preached about the sermon about the unknown God. I went to Corinth where Paul wrote 2 letters to them, 1 Corinthians and 2 Corinthians, to try to get them to do the right things. I was able to go to Berea. I was able to go to Thessalonica. I was able to go to an island called Patmos, where the Apostle John lived out the rest of his life. And then I sailed on over to Ephesus, where there's a book that the Apostle Paul wrote to the Ephesians. But as Paul was sailing between Ephesus and Patmos and Greece one time, in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 23 to 28, he talks about some of the things that happened to him while he was on his missionary journeys. And it reads as follows. It says, "Are they servants of Christ? I speak as if insane. I more so, in far more labors, in far more imprisonments, beaten times without number, often in danger of death. 5 times I received from the Jews 39 lashes. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was stoned. 3 times I was shipwrecked. A night and a day have I spent in the deep. I have been on frequent journeys in dangers from rivers, dangers from robbers, dangers from the countrymen, dangers from the Gentiles, dangers in the cities, dangers in the wilderness, dangers on the sea, danger amongst false brethren. I have been in labor and hardship through many sleepless nights, in hunger and thirst, often without food, cold, and exposure. Apart from which such things, there is a daily pressure on me of concern for all the churches." Even all those things happened to him. He was more concerned about the people in the church than he was of him getting shipwrecked, beaten, or anything of that nature. But here we live in the United States of America. How many people, and I'm talking to you that are out there that are New Testament Christians, that have obeyed that gospel plan of salvation. How tough is it for you to walk across your backyard and knock on your neighbor's door and preach unto them Jesus? They may not want to hear it at that time, but at least you've exposed yourself to them. You may go on to the next person. Eventually, there's going to be one that's going to listen to you. And that's what the Great Commission is all about. And we should be happy to do it, as happy as Paul is. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved. But go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. That's what we need to do as New Testament Christians. Let's go, church. Thank you again for being with a Shortstop with a Shortstop.